Hi, I'm Matthew Wire, and I thought I'd talk about CiviRules, which is an extension not written by me, written by CiviCorp originally, which is an organisation based in the Netherlands, or cooperative for people, but contributed by probably almost every developer in Civi. It's contributed by lots and lots of different people. How many of you are using CiviRules or know of CiviRules? So there's not all hands up. There's about 2/3. That's good. What does it do? Well, it's a rule engine. It's an automation engine for CiviCRM. The basic concept is a rule, and that's a flow of triggers, conditions, and actions. You can add tags and labels and description to them to help you fit them in, to help you understand how they fit into your business logic. And they're composed of these three separate elements, which is the trigger. So you need something that says, hey, let's evaluate this rule. Let's make it happen. It can be anything. All of this can be customized. You can write custom code to do things, but there's a whole set of triggers available to say we've just added a membership, we've just added a contact or deleted a contact, and we can do schedule-based stuff as well. So your membership is going to expire in 2 weeks' time, so we're going to trigger on that. Then you add in a bunch of conditions. It's one or more things that have got to be true for the actions to run. Supports and or, so you can say my contact has a phone number and the membership is of type general. And then we've got an action or one or more actions. So you can run a whole series of things that are going to happen. So it could be adding them to a group. It could be sending an email, creating a user, deleting an activity, updating an activity. So we're going to go straight in with some screenshots for creating a new rule. So in this case, contact form is submitted. So tying it back into SearchKit and Form Builder, we've got a form somewhere that creates an activity. So the trigger here we've chosen is activity is added. Some of the triggers have extra bits that we can select. So in this case, an activity we can choose. Well, do we want it to trigger on all the contact types that you can link to an activity, or do we just want to trigger on the targets of that activity? So we're going to go targets in this case. So we've created the rule, and that rule is going to get triggered every time an activity is added. But it's not going to do anything because we've got no actions, so it's a bit pointless at this point. So let's add some conditions first, because in particular activities get created a lot in Civi, and if we don't put any conditions in, we're going to get a lot of this rule is going to run a lot. So select a condition, and there's a whole load of built-in conditions. Let's go by activity status. We want the activity to be in scheduled status. So that will only trigger when we add an activity in scheduled status. Do that a bit more. Add some more conditions. So in this case, we've added contact has got a valid email. Activity is of type contact us. So we created a contact us activity a contact us activity type that is then created using the form, and contact has phone. But then I realized I added them in the wrong order. Now, a little disclaimer here is that one or two of these UI features are brand new, and that's the beauty of SearchKit and Form Builder has allowed us to start modernizing some of the CiviRules UI along with many other things. So your traditional sort of wait options when you can move things up and down with little arrows can now be done with drag and drop, and you just drag each line and slide them up and down. And you can click on the link operator to change it. That's where we've got and or. You can say, well, we want these two to be true, or this one, and kind of have a little bit more control over how it runs. So now we're going to add some actions, because otherwise there's really no point having a rule. I've got one here which I added recently, which is more for debugging and for testing, because with all these different conditions and things and different triggers, you often want to know that the rule is actually going to work before you start sending out 1,000 emails to your clients and things. So I added a log action which logs to the CiviCRM logs, and that can be added to any rule. We've added 3 actions at this point. So we're logging, we're adding a contact to a group, and we're sending an email. And again, the actions can be resorted, reordered, and the order can be important because you sometimes want things to happen in specific orders. A couple of new features as well. We can now disable actions and conditions and reorder them, which is a nice step forward for CiviRules. It just allows us to be more flexible with things, and also for troubleshooting things. It allows you to you set up an action with various bits of information on the send an email, but in order to test that rule, you've either got to copy it or delete the send email action, but you don't want to because you've got all those parameters saved. Well, now you can just disable that action and keep testing it until it's working, and then enable it again. So if you want to do a bit more, you want to kind of work out, well, why are my conditions not firing? Disclaimer, I was on an aeroplane whilst writing most of this, so there's a few rather poor elements of humour in here and pictures that probably have no relevance. But so there's another extension that we can use with CiviRules called civirulesslogger, and effectively what that does at the moment is it allows you to look in more detail at how the conditions are actually being evaluated. A little tip: at the moment you can't actually enable debug for a rule through the user interface, but hopefully that will change before long. But the reason for that is it was an experimental feature, and it creates quite a lot of log data sometimes. Now we're going to run this. We're going to trigger this rule. So we create a scheduled activity with a target contact. So that's what we've just asked the rule to trigger on. And there we go. We've run it. Did you install civirulesslogger? Well, if you did, you see a little bit more detail here. You see exactly how the conditions were evaluated. So in this case, because there were two AND conditions, they both evaluated to true. The final condition was an OR condition. We didn't need to check it because the previous two evaluated true. It's a really useful feature for actually getting your rules to work. And you can see the trigger history for the rule. That's been in there for a while. It's changed to SearchGit, nothing else, but that's quite a nice way of seeing whether it actually triggered and evaluated to true. It won't show you when it triggered and evaluated to false. So what about scheduled triggers? Membership end date trigger, in this case 2 weeks before the end date. Same thing, you just add a trigger, set some parameters. In this case, we've added some conditions. So contact lives in country, one of Canada, Greenland, or United States. And then we're going to do some actions. So we're going to add an activity and send an email to say, hey, come and renew your membership. What about testing? No, sorry, Eileen, not that kind of testing. But I want to see my rule is working. So yeah, you could argue that leaving it to chance is far more fun, but perhaps that's... So a couple of features that I've been kind of working on, and at the moment they're in a separate extension, but we could well move them into the main one. Is the ability to trigger a rule kind of manually, so you don't actually need to create the entity at all. So you get an action in the action menu here to trigger CiviRules. You've got it triggering on an activity. So the entity that we talked about earlier needs to exist in the database, but you can choose an ID here, and you can trigger that rule without having to go through the process of waiting for a membership to get to the point of renewal, etc. We can use the log action, disable the other actions, and keep repeating that cycle. Trigger the rule, logs to the Civi logs. We've seen that the whole rule has fired the actions, and then only when we're really happy we can actually activate the things that are going to go to the end client. Rules still went wrong. There's another screen now available in CiviRules, which is the trigger history of all rules, and you can filter that by rule ID, by who it was triggered for, by the date, by the entities, and then you can select a bunch of them, and you can re-trigger the rules. Now, because those rules know what entities triggered them originally, it'll re-trigger them with exactly the same things from before. We had an example when email stopped working, outbound email stopped working for a couple of days on one of our sites, and a bunch of people missed their renewal triggers. So I said to my colleagues, I said, well, I reckon I can write something quickly to sort this out, and let's do it properly, so that so I don't need to re-trigger all those emails, but I can make it so that our clients can re-trigger those emails, with a little bit of advice. So that's what this does. You can select a bunch of them and say, well, between 12 o'clock and 2300 yesterday, emails didn't go out, so we're going to re-trigger all of those rules. And exactly the same thing will happen as before. In theory, there's obviously, you've got to consider a little bit what the conditions and actions might be in there as to whether data's changed in the meantime. But basically, That's a nice little feature to make things easier to use. And yeah, just to finish off, to say that the following extensions may have been harmed during the making of the presentation. And that's all for me. Thank you.